There we are. That's good. You are very welcome back to the Play Strong Girl podcast. I am so delighted to have the lovely Brenda Bannon here with me, a really good friend that I've got to know over the past year. And to be honest, like an incredible athlete for one, intercounty GA player, S&C coach, like you're doing it all, absolutely thriving now since coming back from Australia. And to be honest, I didn't think you'd be back from Australia so soon. Like last October, you and Stephen left, spent 7-8 months away, and now you're back with a beautiful doggo Sadie and doing your S&C thing. How's that?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Really excited, wee bit nervous about TY. Yeah, so I suppose Australia was in the pipeline for a long time. I went over and visited in 2017 and ended up staying a couple of months longer than my 6 weeks it was supposed to be. I think I stayed 6 or 7 months in the end with my brother, so that was sort of a taste of it. So I'd always planned on going back, but it was just the convincing of Stephen, my other half. And I think possibly 7 or 8 years later, I ended up going back. I think things just evolved between then, like the seed been sown of wanting to travel, go to Australia, and actually getting back last year and this year, traveling for the 6 months that we did go for this year. I think things just evolved in terms of like my own life personally, and then also my work life in terms of like the goalposts just shifted in terms of what I wanted from the trip. So we nearly decided before we left that I think it was going to be a travel trip rather than a live and work and stay forever trip. Whereas I think if you had asked me 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been, yeah, get me out the gap. I'm not coming back, you know. So I suppose it's a positive in itself in terms of how much I've evolved as a person, and then also with work as well. I'm really content here.
Oh, that's great. And you got obviously the new addition, Sadie. She's absolutely beautiful. That is definitely, I guess, tied to. Sure, you got her before you even landed. Before she even landed home, you had the dog ready to go.
So if anybody knew me or my family, like we are massive animal people. Like we had everything from like chickens to rearing wild birds, cats, goldfishes, parrots, everything growing up. So I've always been like animal obsessed, but also having the dream to want to travel as well. It was been very hard over the last few years, like not having the comfort of pets in our home since we bought our home. Myself and Stephen bought our home a year ago now, but always wanted a dog since we got together and moved in together. But it's a big commitment, as you know yourself. So the minute I knew we were coming home for good, that was like the search was on. Yeah, I was on dogs.ie, and there's a place actually we went walking quite a lot in Western Australia, and Groodles are pretty popular breed over there. So I fell in love with the Groodle breed. In terms of Stephen had a retriever at home, we absolutely loved her, but just the size maybe not so staying in the house. So we absolutely fell in love with the Groodles whenever we seen them. They're very popular in Australia. So the hunt began on the way home, and Sadie was bought one morning over coffee in Vietnam before we actually even seen her. But it just makes every day that wee bit brighter having her there at home, especially when I work from home.
Yeah, myself, bit of company and everything with that too. You know, that's unreal. And like, I think especially in Ireland, there's like this look of Australia that it's incredible. And I definitely, you know, from being there for the 8 weeks, it is incredible as well. Like the weather is obviously great. You know, you can get out and about earlier in the day, but there's something that I think the grass is always greener where you water it. And I think that's something that, you know, comes to mind with yourself and myself is like, you can take what's so amazing about Australia and take that home with you if you really want to. Like have your early mornings, have your coffees, have your like little sea dips and stuff. Not as pleasurable, I know, in the cold, but you know, that kind of aspect of it, I think, is something like, how did you take any of that back then coming back from Australia as well?
Yeah, I suppose in terms of like just slowing down and like savoring those little moments for sure. But I think that's maybe something I've developed in myself over the last couple of years in terms of like how my lifestyle has developed. I suppose in conjunction of being an intercounty footballer and an athlete as well myself. But in terms of like the goalpost shifting in wanting to like stay and live in Australia versus wanting to go and travel, like it's probably multifaceted. I suppose the older you get and the more responsibility you have, it's very hard to go away for a long spell of time. And then this year alone, we had like close family members getting married, or dad going through surgery. So I think there was going to be a part of us that was going to have to come home at some stage during our 1 year visa that we did get. And then as well, I suppose there's been a change in me over the last couple of years in terms of like just contentment and feeling fulfilled in my own just sort of day-to-day life at home. And after going through the career change there over the last 3 or 4 years, where I've moved from a career in radiography to now S&C and nutrition coaching, I think that has really helped in terms of like how fulfilled I am in my day-to-day life. And that's probably shifted the goalposts of wanting to stay in Australia versus actually Ireland being our home, the place I'm most content. So I think we decided even before we left that it was only ever going to be for sort of travel purposes. And then we'd be home for the wedding and LCD and all the fun stuff. And yeah, I suppose looking back now, I wouldn't change any of it. So yeah, I think it was like a trip we were always going to have to take. But it was just for how long in the end. And I guess as well with myself, it kind of dawned upon me before we left that time is of the essence, and I'm now considered a mature athlete. So I want to try and make the most of the next couple of years as an intercounty footballer. And obviously for as long as you're living and breathing and the body is able to stand up, you want to be playing club football too. So I suppose that was in my aspirations to get back and definitely be there and competing within the club championship this year. So yeah, the goalpost did shift over the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, no, that's like, and I think everyone has the idea of like the traveling and it's all like find yourself, and you know, I think you nearly had that before you left, and you nearly had like an epiphany maybe, and you know, the focus was just from talking to you, like the focus was, yeah, we're going, and then I think it was just a little bit before you're kind of like, oh, the fear of missing like Fermanagh and the fear of missing the club season. You know, I think they all started to trickle in a little bit for you. Then being away, you find like a new club for, you started playing AFL, is that right? Yeah, and did you enjoy it?
Yeah, loved it. So yeah, I think it was like about maybe 8-10 weeks before we left that the epiphany did hit, that I was like, well, actually, I think I might actually have everything today. And yeah, I suppose the fear started creeping in as to like, you know, what would I be missing out on? And Fermanagh were going really well. We had new management. It was going to be year 2 for new management, and we just won the All-Ireland. A lot of the girls were staying on. Like, the thing was really, really building in terms of intercounty football. And it's like, I really didn't want to miss out. But I was like, if I leave it any longer, I'm going to be too old to go travelling too. So we kind of decided we'd take the 6-7 months and really go at it. And then going over there, in terms of like letting go of that high performance lifestyle, was probably one of the most difficult parts for me going over there. If anybody knows me, like, I'm highly competitive. I'm extremely driven. I'm always thinking about the next thing. How can I improve in absolutely every aspect of my life? So yes, the last like 6-7 months I've been away traveling. I've had to take a step back from that because I'm not going to be able to operate at the same level as I have been over the last couple of years, and I need to prioritise what the main thing was, which was traveling. So went over and we'd done a good bit of traveling on the way over. After a couple of weeks, we settled in Perth in Western Australia, and the football scene over there had just sort of started up quite recreational. But also I'd played a little bit of AFL here for Ireland in a club in the north as well. Really, really enjoyed it. Loved the physicality. I sometimes do wonder me if should I been playing rugby like from a young age. I don't know.
They're so tight.
Ended up a friend of mine from Donegal. She was playing waffle, which is like state league level. It's like the level just below AFLW. And I was like, oh, that sounds unreal. And she started telling me about like just sort of high performance setup that they had. And I was like, oh, like a 6 S&C jobs going there. I was like, that just sounds like something I want to be involved in, like playing or not. And she was like, I just spoke to the coach a couple of days later. She spoke to the coach. She's like, coach said, come on down. She just had a look at your Instagram.
Oh, okay.
I was like, right. She said, come on down for a chat. And I was thinking I was going down for a chat, like maybe to help with water or like just assist in S&C. And next thing was in train session and 2K time trial, such night out. So that ended up playing a full waffle pre-season, which is your Western Australia State League. Yeah, over there, really enjoyed it, learned a lot. But it probably bridged the gap in terms of that high performance environment that I was really desperately missing. Yeah, at that point I was so homesick, and that was probably January, February. National League had just started. Fermanagh girls doing really, really well. And that was just whenever I went into the waffle side, and things were starting to get really difficult because I was finishing my masters while we travelled, And I think I was just left at home with my thoughts. I was like, I really miss home. I really miss football. I just did generally find it really hard stepping out of that high performance environment. So that any minute I could get to step in back into that again, I was like, yes, give it to me. So that was it. I think they always knew I was going home before the season would end. There was absolutely no pressure with my on my end to perform or make tea or whatever else. But loved it, fully immersed myself in it and the Aussie culture, and learned a lot.
Yeah, no, I'd say that was so good. And I guess that maybe ties into a little bit of maybe asking you what you learned then about yourself, having all your different travels, even after you had Bali and Vietnam and all those amazing places as well. But with that, what about that then, of what did you learn about yourself then through that? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit there, in terms of the structure and high performance and wanting that, but is there anything else that you learned about yourself then?
Yeah, I think that's what makes me take, structure, high performance environment, continually having something to strive for. But at the same time, when everything that I ever associated with myself, my identity, Gaelic football pretty much had become my identity over the last few years, when that was stripped away, at a basic level, what did I want from myself? What did I want from day-to-day life? How did I want to show up my work and my relationships? Maybe forced to think a little bit more about who I was aside from sport. So that was interesting. In our house as well, at home, myself and Stephen, we were both playing at inter-county level over the last couple of years. We both played for the same club, sometimes passing ships in the night. I know there for the last 2 years we were literally out opposite nights. So we got to spend very little time together. So that was just really nice, just to come back and reconnect over different things other than sport. So learned a lot there, but I'd say the main thing personally is just slowing down, taking time for me outside of sport, because yes, physical activity and exercises is time for you, but it's very hard to come out of that bubble when you're fully immersed in just preparing for physical performance every time that you go out onto the pitch, versus going to Pilates and moving through it because you genuinely enjoy it. So I'd like to dip my toe into a few things like that while I was away, between Pilates and open water swimming, a little bit of surfing. The AFL was obviously nice too, so it was nice to try different things as well and just be there for the genuine enjoyment of moving your body versus preparing physically for performance.
Just a quick second to tell you about my online coaching for female athletes of all ages and all stages of their strength and sporting journey. Strength and conditioning is so important for women. Whether you want to get stronger in the gym, faster on the pitch, have some structure and accountability to stay consistent, or want to bridge the gap between early stage rehab and high level performance, I can help you get there. Everything is done through the MTA Performance app. Get your fully personalised programme that fits you, your schedule and your goals. Every exercise has an in-depth video tutorial and voiceover to ensure your technique is perfected. With the MTA Performance app, every workout is logged, and I'll use that data to continue to personalise and progress your plan going forward. And I'll be there to support you with any questions, any queries along the way to ensure your success. So if that's something you're interested in, then click the link below or DM me on Instagram, MaveListon_physio, and book your free call with me to get a plan sorted just for you. Take your sport and career, your gym performance, and your overall health to the next level with the Play Strong Girl system. With me, your coach, Maeve Liston. But before you left, you won the All-Ireland with Fermanagh. That must have been incredible as well.
Yeah, it was. It's been building for a while. In fairness, we have been there and we've won the Junior All-Ireland a couple of times, I think 3 now, in my time since I started playing in 2011. But that one was just extra special in terms of my involvement. I suppose for anybody that maybe doesn't know me, a bit of background, started playing in 2011, and I was a late developer in terms of physicality, but would have came from a small club as such. But I suppose for my physical development at 18, 19, I knew I needed to be pushing on into more high performance teams to learn, to grow physically and things like that. So probably wasn't ready at 18, 19 to go play inter-county football, but it was somewhere that I probably needed to be to develop. It was a decision I made for myself anyway, regardless of it was or it wasn't. So it took me a long time to get into the starting team and get started. It took me 8 years. So it was 2021, and we'd already won it twice before that, before
I actually broke in and actually got starting. So yeah, 2024 was really special for me personally because it was the first time I'd won it, and I was on the pitch. And then I suppose from the heartbreak as well from the year previous that we'd got there but lost out.
Yeah, no, that must have been so good. And like you've kind of said it, I know, in your Instagram and stuff about how important was like strength and conditioning for you to get from, you know, you're in the team and amongst the team, but then breaking into that starting team and having that jersey and cementing it as your own. Like, how did that transition happen? When did the like light bulb go off? It was like, oh no, this is what will make the difference, I guess.
I guess there's only so many years you can sit on a panel and be happy just to sit on a panel. And I guess the more the sport has developed, ladies Gaelic football, like I suppose now in the more recent years, if you have like first or second year minor that comes up to join the panel, it's nearly the norm that they'll sit on for 2 or 3 years, learn, develop physically and tactically before they'll get their starting place. But for me, it was 8 years. And back then, I guess, like in terms of like tactical organisation of teams, it wouldn't have been the same. Physically, like players probably weren't as developed. There was a massive opening there for like a player of a more athletic profile to have a place. Whereas now we're mostly all athletes, minimum requirement now. But I guess for me, growing up, I was never talented. I never had like a great skill set as such, but anything that I ever got was probably through hard work. I was a late developer in terms of like physically and even growing. I was a bit late going through my growth spurt. So I was at a small disadvantage there. But as soon as I started to get fed up, it must have been year 4 or 5, just sitting on the panel, you know, I was like, I want to be involved here. I want to be playing. I just don't want to be sitting on the panel. Like something had to change in terms of like, I was going to have to push myself on physically, or I'm going to have to learn a bit more in order to get minutes, because this is where I really, really want to be. And I love the environment, but it just broke my heart not to be involved. I didn't feel like I belonged there, that I wasn't able to contribute to the team in some shape or form. So that wasn't long after I'd returned home from my first spell in Australia, and probably the catalyst was that I gained a lot of weight, like I'd be up on 10, 12 kilos in comparison to what I was now, and just wasn't able to like get up and down the pitch. Like I'm a middle-aged player, I'm utility, I'm supposed to get through the work is probably where I would be seen in the club scene anyway, but wasn't able to get through the work. So I was like, something has to change here. And like I was really uncomfortable with myself, even in terms of like my body composition. So I guess the first thing was just like getting a PT, learning how to move in the gym. And like from my first session, David Masterson, who is my PT and he's a strength and conditioning coach now, like he'll even tell you, like I just lit up at every thought of everything got to do with S&C and getting better for my sport. And I suppose body composition and things like that just became secondary to it when I realised like how much this could actually benefit my sport, and it just became everything to me. And I think it gave me my sense of self, of like self-confidence definitely, and purpose, and that, you know, that there was a way for me to progress here physically to make the team. But I guess at the time as well, it was like a real outlet for me in terms of what I was going through with my mental health. So yeah, it did give me a lot other than just becoming like physically a really, really good athlete. But I guess like in this day and age, there'll always be room for someone who is really athletic and is able to do the work and able to do like a man marking job, for example. So yeah, that was me for a while, and it didn't happen overnight. You know, there was a fair few years of disappointment where I'd like maybe broke into the team for the National League and didn't get minutes then for the championship at all, and completely lost my place again. And, you know, it was really, really difficult. But I knew in the end that if I kept on developing physically, and also this was there was an element to tactical development as well, that I would make the starting team. And that did come in 2022, I think, 2021, 2022. So yeah, that was a bit of a relief. But I suppose when you have that high performance attitude as well, you're never just happy with that then. So that was me. I got into the team, but I wanted to be better and better, and that's something that I've probably struggled to let go of, but it probably has me where I am today.
But that's so resilient. Like that, going through that amount of time of being on the fringes, like so hard and so tough mentally. Like, was there a time that you were like, oh yeah, I'm packing this in, like I can't do it anymore? Like,
Was there a time?
a few numerous times?
Yeah, no,
Is there one that you were just like, no, this is it now? Like I can't do this anymore. Does anything stick out specifically?
probably 2020 was really hard year. Just in terms of like COVID. We spent a lot of time training for the 2020 season. The championship was ended up run off in wintertime in December. I think the All Ireland final was. We done a lot of training that year by ourselves. And like I was taking every single box there possibly was. Like all there really was for me was work and training at that point. Taking every box there was. And yeah, I was getting minutes throughout the National League, like really pushing for my championship place, maybe not getting it, like fair few questions asked and a few fallouts with the manager. But I think if I didn't turn my back on it that year, especially after going through a period of grief and loss and losing my mum, I think I'll never turn my back on it. There's something just unique and special about being able to get through like that sort of resilience and that disappointment and evolving through that I just knew that year, like if I could get through this season, if I can get through literally anything, you know. I think at that time as well, I was still like quite small. I had lost a lot of weight in terms of like my body composition and things like that, and I maybe wasn't an out and out midfielder, whereas now I am. I could probably play anywhere in the middle eight then, whereas my only real place at that point was playing like wing half back. And if anybody knows the wing half back line or the half back line in Fermanagh, it's the best line in the entire pitch, so it's very hard position to get into at the time. I was only getting a couple of minutes here and there, but I knew like physically and tactically, like I was there, I was ready, I was near enough. So it was very frustrating just to know that, you know, you're doing absolutely everything you possibly can to prepare to play, and you're just not quite making the cut. So yeah, I suppose to develop myself to be a bit more utility than outside the half back line has helped as well. So yeah, 2020 was probably a very difficult year, and if I didn't turn my back on it then I probably wouldn't. We actually went on, then we won the All Ireland. It was under lights. I think it was Dublin here, and it was like the 3rd of December. It was the 6th of December under lights, and yeah, I come on like half time or just after half time, you know. So there was a point during that year during the National League I was like, I'm gonna have to make my peace here. That I suppose having a really good manager as well does help in terms of like preparing you physically to make impact, because you see now in this day and age there's some of the best teams have better players on the bench. That was a concept that I really struggled to get my head around, was that yes, I'm good, like I'm good enough to be starting here, but I'm not starting. So making impact was something that I really had to team myself up for mentally to be able to give that to the team.
It's so hard, right? Like having 3 or 4 people's opinion dictate like whether you're playing or not. It's so hard, and I think there's a lot of girls out there that struggle a lot with selection. Like if you wouldn't be a competitive athlete if you didn't, but there's certain times where, as you said, you felt like you were doing everything, and what more could you do? Like, did you have you said, do you have many chats with their coaches? How do you approach that? How would you like suggest for young girls to potentially approach that? You know, there's no point going in all guns blazing and, you know, shouting the roof down, but there's a ways and means to it to ask for feedback. What would be like your advice to young girls with those situations?
I guess like seeking it internally yourself before you go to management is really, really important. Like I would have watched a lot of video of myself, and I think most athletes, like if they're anyway self-aware, they'll know the mistakes they're making, they'll know where they're lacking before they need to ask anyone else. You know yourself, if you've ever made a mess up. You know, and it's hard being told when you know yourself, you know. So but as well as that, sometimes like even like tactically in terms of on the field, it's very hard to see where you should be in terms of like making moves on the pitch. It's very hard to see where you should be when you're in the heat of the moment versus when you come back and watch the video a day or two later. So I guess that's like the number one thing. And I'm lucky enough to have Stephen in the house that's playing at a fairly high level as well. To be able to sit down and watch video and give me that feedback as to where should I be or what could I have done better here. So yeah, like seeking that internally before you come to management and trying to make improvements on. There's one thing knowing what you're doing wrong, but like how to improve that within the game. So yeah, that's where your coaches come in, because they most often than not know better than you in terms of how you can actually improve that particular thing. So yeah, then it's like, okay, I really want to work on my weaker side to get me out of a hole if I'm caught up against a sideline, or look, I feel like I could be involved with the transition a wee bit more, but I just don't have the legs in the last 20 minutes. Like, what can I be doing here? So like that maybe springs a light bulb in their heads then as to like, how are we preparing these girls physically, and how can we actually draw that attribute from them if they know that person is lacking that particular attribute. So yeah, there was an element of that like going on behind the scenes as well. But there's another thing that I found that had really held me back personally was like, I thought that I thought that whenever I prepared myself physically as much as I possibly could, like ticking all the boxes, all the benchmarks in the gym and on the pitch in terms of like profiling, that I should automatically start. So that's not the case, because you could have an athlete from a complete other sport that would take every single benchmark for ladies Gaelic football. You could put them on the football pitch and their skill set was terrible. So that was one thing for me I needed to develop, was my skill set. But also I put a massive pile of pressure on myself to like obtain all those benchmarks. So then when I actually got my chance on the pitch, it was so hard earned that I was like really panicked on the ball. Like, this is my chance, I need to take it now. And if I make a boo-boo here, then I'm going to be getting a curly finger, and I mightn't get the minutes the next day. So yes, performance anxiety did creep into that for me. And that was something that actually took me a while to identify, that I'm actually going through a period of performance anxiety here, and it would actually have me in like a state of like fight or flight. Not so much fight, but more like flight, in that I would be hiding within games. Yeah, where you don't want someone who's coming on to make impact to hide within games if they're coming on to provide legs, which is typically what I would be in a game. So yeah, it took me a while to identify that was going on, and I actually reached out and got some sports psych sessions, and yeah, it was good to trash that out. So that really did help me develop mentally, whereas up until that point I was probably looking at like physical development.
It's a whole other angle to the athlete, isn't it?
Whole other angle, yeah.
That doesn't get looked enough, and especially the support in women's sport. Like, we know we're very emotional creatures. Like, it's, you know, what we're hormones and everything, and like it all creeps into it. But like reaching out for that support was huge. Is there anything like in particular that you took from those sessions? Like, what's one piece from those sessions overall that really helped you? Like, is there anything that brings you into the moment, or is there anything that you use to, like, whenever those thoughts are creeping in, to quieten them down?
And I suppose it's a good point to plug my good friend Gareth Fox. He's my sports psychologist, and I've been working with Gareth on and off for the last few years, but just some of the tools that he's given me has been like honestly invaluable, even like off the pitch. But one of the main things that we work through, especially for my performance anxiety, like I would be absolutely killed with what if thoughts in the game. So like as a midfielder, for example, I'd be like, what if the opposition team gets the throw in and they score a goal? Or another thing that was kind of like was coming up a lot for me was like coughing up the ball on forced errors, giving the ball away. So this used to kill me. And then getting on the ball, I'd be like so afraid of coughing up possession that inevitably that's what would happen. So it was honestly enlightening that Gareth was like, well, you just face this head on. Like, let's trash out these what ifs. And we're going to flip that over then in terms of how can we use that and use those particular what ifs if they do happen, that there is going to be a trigger for something you can control within the game, where you're actually going to be able to commit yourself to that in the next play or whatever it is, the next kick out. So for example, lose possession on forced error, then I know that my automatic, that's going to happen. That happens in games, especially for mid-late players. You're on the ball an awful lot. It is going to happen the odd time. Is that I work hard for the next 60 seconds to win the ball back. Or it might be like, I'm going to lift my communication to set up our defensive press or whatever it is. So it was just basically helping me work through the game play by play. I knew how to deal with setback as soon as it came up. Whereas previously I would be like, oh my God, I've just lost the ball. I'm going to be taken off here. I hid from the next play as well. Like, one of the main things I would have done. So just flipping that over into controllable. And I literally sat down, I still have them on the iPad now, and wrote out every single what if that I ever thought of. And I have like an actionable thing to do then off the back of that. And it is something I lean into every single game now, even 5 years later. I'm still using it. Yeah.
No, that's incredible. That's a really good thing to do. Like, I think it's having, your structures and things in place, and it's the idea that, oh, what is going to happen isn't the end of the world either. Sometimes the face and the head on going, oh, I knocked the ball on over the try line. Yeah, that could happen. That could easily happen. Like, you see athletes in the top of their game doing absolutely horrendous, like, stupid stuff sometimes, and it just is part and parcel of it. It's just not beating yourself up about it.
Mistakes are going to happen, even at the highest level. It's just, it's all about how you react to it and who reacts the best to adversity.
Yeah, definitely who reacts the best is definitely, because you see people go into their shells and everything, but like having those actionable things to do, definitely in the kind of black and white, that's like a really, really good thing. Working in, like, you're doing your great thing now, working in S&C, working with young teams and your online bits and everything, thriving, looks absolutely amazing. How is it taken? Like, we both know how important strength and conditioning is for like young girls, and we can tell them the physical benefits. But what is something like beyond obviously their development that you're seeing week in, week out? What are you seeing from them throughout those sessions?
That's a good one. I guess just in terms of S&C and been involved with youth athletic development, like, I'm obviously very, very interested in sports performance and sports science and all things S&C, but like, I have to remember like where that's come from in terms of my own development. And yeah, over those 8 years it took to get me my starting place. I've collected a lot of tools that I feel now I have the onus that I need to impart on other players, just so they can fast track things. They don't have to go through what I went through, and hopefully build a little bit of physical and mental resilience along the way. So, doing good work is one thing that has been really important to me since returning to Australia. Is like, how can I positively impact my community and being Darren on the harps. So as soon as I come home, one of the mummies who's a coach, she'd come up to me in the car, and God, we must have chatted about 50 minutes in terms of like development of youth athletes. And she's like, any chance would you take girls during the winter, or just even 3-4 weeks? Like, I was like, I would love that. I think there's no better age to get them than I have the under 14s at the minute, in terms of sowing those seeds, even just for their self-confidence. If that's the only thing that the girls are taking from me at the minute, is to be able to come into the gym, set things up, even chat to their teammates, because not often, like, some of them go to different schools, they don't get to chat to them outside of, their maybe 2 trainings a week and things like that. So that's been really important for me. But like, the change on them, just even in the last, like, we're in week 4 now, like, not only physically but just even like their weight confidence, and they'll come into the gym, they come straight up to me and be like, is there anything you need set up, and like, they put away all their equipment, different things like that, and they absolutely love it. But I was actually reading an article that brings me back to just female performance versus male performance, because I work with a lot of male teams. Up until now, I've actually predominantly been working with male teams, and just in terms of like the difference in their performance and their development. So like, you probably get this yourself, the penny will drop when I say this. In order for a female athlete to perform well, more often than not, they have to feel good about themselves. So that's like, they have to feel good and confident about what they're doing. They have to feel confident about what they're doing, but also they need to feel good in their bodies and also at home in their environment. So that's something that I'm really trying to bring in to the current group at the moment, is just for them to be confident in their environment, feel at home in the group, and confident in the gym setting, and confident that this is going to help them long term in terms of their development. Versus the male group, more often than not, you have to pull the boys back in the gym and be like, no, I prefer you see you doing that with really good form, because they absolutely thrive in and
Competitive.
yeah, competitive, very metric based. Let me do it fast. Let me lift it heavy. So they need to perform well first before they feel good. So a little bit of difference in terms of like the coaching style, but that was one thing that I think has been very apparent for me even over the last few years. So it was one thing that I definitely want to push for the youth female athletes, is to make sure that we're like building communication styles, we're building body confidence, we're building self-confidence and things like that. We're building competency in the gym and in our movement patterns. So that then in turn, hopefully long term, will help their performance.
Yeah, like I didn't get into the gym until I was 17, and that was Mark bringing me in.
I was 22, I think.
Like Mark dragged me in kicking and screaming. I didn't want to go. But he was like, this is what's going to make you a better athlete. And and you'll enjoy it and it'll be great. And it's not just that it's for this period that you're playing sport. It's like for forever. And I think getting that into the girls' heads as well is incredible. Like, can you imagine how unreal it would feel at like 17 or 18 to be able to walk into any gym and just be like, oh, I just know what to do here. Like, whereas for the first like 3 or 4 years, like I was okay in that one gym that I was in because I knew where everything was and what that was. And then a new one, it was like, oh God, this is a whole new different stimulus. But if that confidence is there from 17, 18, God, you're setting yourself up so well.
Yeah.
And then you see the whole physical side of it. And like, girls they grow quicker than the boys. Like, they're not aware of where their body is in space. Like, I couldn't do a bodyweight squat. Well, my ankle stability might still not have me doing a really good bodyweight squat, but
Yeah.
even just the thought of doing it whenever I was 17, I was like, what is this? Like, just the shape and the movement. But for like injury prevention and everything is just huge. Like, it's just another epidemic of like ACLs at the moment, and you're just like, if it's like trying to get these young girls who want to strive for their high performance sport, that they need to prepare earlier. And it's not like to scaremonger them like, oh God, if you don't go to the gym you'll get injured, but it's like you need to put the things in place so that down the road you're in a much better place long term, I think. And that's why, like, yeah, the 14, 15-year-old girls, getting them in is incredible.
Perfect time to get them. Yes, this group is like 11 to 14 is sort of what I have at the minute, but like the biggest drop off is 15, 16. So I'm hoping now if we get them before that, keeping them together sort of year long, even if it's just one night a week in the gym over the winter, a few games, bit of S&C, a few plyos, like they're absolutely loving it. But just even to give them that enjoyment, so that there's a less of a tendency or want to drop off, or even just to niche down, because what we're finding as well with youth athletes at the minute is early individualization to different sports. So want to try and keep them for as long as we can. So I think it's a really, really important time, sort of that 11 to sort of 15.
Yeah, no,
Keep them interested, keep them keen, but you want to see them when they come in, like, as you were saying, they're building that confidence in the gym. Like, I didn't enter a gym properly until I was 22, I think, but coming in, they're setting up, takes 2 of them to lift a barbell up, like I have them doing low bar chins, takes 2 of them to lift the barbell up, but not a bother on them. They know what they're doing, they set up the J-hooks, but that just confidence to be able to know where the bands are, to be able to know where the sliders are and things in the gym, to go in, get them, they know what movements they're doing. Like, that builds real confidence just through developing competence in just knowing where things are and knowing how to do things, and they're assured that they're doing it properly. So hopefully that will help long term. It's only a small wee seed now that we're growing at the minute, but hopefully it'll catch roots and it'll build.
No, I think you get a lot more from it though, as well, from taking the time with them. So like with you, you're like, I know how you are, you're so diligent and you'll give them all the time and attention that they deserve, but that's you also getting the most out of them as well. Like, I think we've all know that we've all had one S&C coach or coach from another time who's just wanting to do their thing and leave, and you know, that's fair enough.
Get out.
They probably have other things going on, and that's fine too, but it's not the priority at the time. But whenever you just give someone that extra bit of attention, they remember that and they feel that, and that's the emotion that you want them to carry through to the rest of the time that they're there, and that'll give you the best of them too. Like, I'd say they are like not waiting on your hand and foot, but like they're just, you know, so in awe of you, just want to do their best for you, which is probably a real nice, but also maybe like daunting thing as well. They all want to impress you. But it's so good that you're enjoying it. And, you know, have you found like a group of athletes that you prefer coaching?
Oh, I really enjoyed. I was involved with the senior men's team there last season for the full season, and like I was just incredibly invested. Really great group, loved it. I was a bit nervous going in at the start. You know, it was like female going into a male environment. Like, are they going to take me seriously at all? You know, are they going to listen? But yeah, like was really, really invested. Enjoyed it. Like, don't get me wrong, especially when you're at senior club level, like it is a wee bit more stressful. You have to think a wee bit more about what you're doing, obviously. Loved that, really enjoyed it. We got a Division 1 league title out of it. We competed really well in the championship. Like, that was honestly great experience. Like, I loved it so much. So I would have been saying, yeah, definitely would prefer working with the male athlete. Up until that, I work individually with a lot of females. I would say predominantly maybe like 60-70% females, individual athletes. I get it. I think that's why they come to me, is because I get it as a female athlete, and you can't coach them the same. You can't. Like, yes, a lot of the lifts are the same in the gym and the concepts are the same, but in terms of how you impart the information and things like that, it's very, very different. Like, I do enjoy both sides of it, but the last couple of weeks I've just found myself so looking forward to a Tuesday night with the under 14s, you know? It's just great crack, but there's nothing about the S&C environment that I don't like. So it's hard to say that I would prefer one group over another.
Yeah, because it is so different. It's varied. It's like, yeah.
I love being challenged, like, so, like, obviously, like, being asked questions, and you mightn't get that so much from the under 14s because they're absorbing all the information and they want to know everything, but maybe a wee bit nervous about asking questions. But we do wee Q&As at the end of every S&C session in terms of just like, if I can just even give them 5 minutes in terms of little tidbits for their nutrition or like different things they should be doing at home. So we do wee Q&As at the end of every S&C session, which is, I find now come week 3, week 4 they're starting to really ask the questions. So it's been able just to open out and give them that opportunity to ask the questions, whereas like senior men are going to come up to you and they'll straight up ask you before the session even starts. If there's something on their mind, you're going to know about it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit of a difference there, but it's just giving them the platform that they need to get what they need from the session for themselves, you know, them different groups.
Yeah, no, I'd say that's real nice, giving them the chance to ask questions at the end. Like, you take something as simple as that though, and you forget that the impact that could have on them, you know, like what they're asking, and, you know, getting that information. They're not scared of it, or, you know, knowledge is power at the end of the day. And I think that's something, like, we're similar age, but it's just that wasn't there for us when we were 15. Like, I just remember my strength and conditioning, and like, we didn't have strength and conditioning. It was my last year of minors, I think, and it was one session that we were in to do like a movement analysis, I think, in a gym in Letterkenny. And this is all absolute like crazy, like mad to me. I was like, oh, we're going to be starting going into gym and everything.
What age were you?
I think that was whenever I was 17. It was whenever I was playing. It was when it was just the start. It was the start of it. Like, Donegal women didn't have an S&C at that point.
20 years ago that was.
Oh, 10 years ago. Yeah. 11 years ago. Yeah. But since then, they've had a really good like strength and conditioning and everything in place, and everyone's had it. But it was just, yeah, that transitional time. But having that all readily available, I'm not saying like girls need to go in and start really like front squatting like 40-50 kilos. It's just literally moving in a way that, you know, their body needs to do during the sport, and get confident with it. But that's been a huge change, I think, even in the past 10 years.
100%, yeah. I think even at grassroots level, it's not there yet, but like, even similar to yourself there, like, the first sort of inclination of S&C for Anna would have been like maybe hitting up like a circuit style class together as a group. You know, in no way, shape or form sport specific, but
no,
at the same time, something was better than nothing. But yeah, things are starting to develop a wee bit more there. I think us ladies Gaelic footballers, and even in Gaelic games, like, we're a wee bit behind the curve, but it is definitely starting to catch up.
Yeah, like and we see, I just kind of knew whenever I was transitioning from like GA to rugby specifically, there was there was already a good bit more emphasis on the gym and strength and conditioning at that.
See, benchmarks is a real thing there.
Yeah, definitely. It was like certain numbers that we had to hit for a bench.
It's only in the last 3 years that we don't even have all of that data now.
No.
Comparing to
but I think those were, some of them were just guesses. There was ones for like the sevens definitely were specific, but now there's definitely profiles in place for like all your positions and everything. But it's even like being in the group gym sessions, which I like, that's where the most crack is. Like when you're out on the pitch, it is a lot of business, but in the gym, yeah, you can get your business done, do your lifts. But like it's where you build like more bonds and you end up having like more chats with the girls and stuff. So like team lifting sessions, I think, are like invaluable, not just for the physical gains of it, but like the connections with the players. And actually, you might learn that they actually would rather maybe the ball like a little bit flatter on certain things, because it's a bit more of a chill. It's not as like give me the answer on the pitch, like everything's a little bit more direct whenever you're out there, whereas you can maybe have the opportunity to have like those smaller micro conversations about your playing styles or whatever. Like you've gone through plenty of hard stuff in your life. You mentioned there about losing your mum, like that must have been like incredibly tough. And you said how much like sport was there for you at that time. Do you continue to lean on sport, or does it continue to help you day to day?
Yeah, it's definitely an outlet for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard to know. I would say, like, looking back at sort of 17, 18-year-old me who probably was struggling a wee bit with her mental health, that was a way for me to sort of expend that energy and anger that was built up maybe from very difficult upbringing in our house at home. Like parents separated and divorced when I was about 6, 7, and just an awful lot going on at home. So that was like my couple of hours of the week between that and athletics was kind of the only really 2 things available down our way. Was my sort of couple of hours of the week where I would go out to be away from that environment, number one, but it would be my way to just sort of let off a bit of steam, sort of deal with what was going on in my head, maybe not even deal with it. It was just letting off steam. So yeah, it probably kept me sane for a good few years. Even probably in more recent years, since I probably started to deal with my mental health and actually work on that part of my performance, my mental performance, and even just my mental well-being outside of sport. I guess ladies Gaelic football has just given me that opportunity. We have the GPA in place now. It's basically our union, our Gaelic Players Association, and was after Mum died in 2020. That I was just like, so Mum died through suicide. I'm really happy to talk about it now. It's something I've really worked on and dealt with, but it would have been a very difficult conversation to have this time 5 years ago. That after that happened, and just due to my own sort of inclinations and my mental health wasn't great, I suppose, in the run up to that I was like, this is something I need to take action on here. Just aside from going out and playing around a pitch or going to the gym a couple of hours of the week, that this is something I need to deal with long term, because I don't want to end up the same way. And like mental health, I suppose, in our house at home, it is almost hereditary at this point. I think there are like, for the research, hereditary links, and I was aware of that at the time, that this is something I'm going to have to deal with. And it was literally as simple as a couple of texts through a teammate who is now one of my best friends and one of the best players in the entire Ireland. And the best players literally are really good people too, because that's what Emer Smith is. A couple of texts with Emer, and just, I was like, I need to deal with this. And I wasn't even sure myself, like I knew the GPA was there, but I wasn't sure what resources were available for the likes of me. Just finished uni and stuff too, probably wouldn't have really had, like, in terms of like financial resources to have went and like paid for my own counselling and things. So couple of texts with Emer not long after Mum died, and she was like, I've just found out there for you. Went and asked, there is free counselling services with the GPA. And I was like, yeah, like, whatever it takes, like, because I just don't want to end up this way when I'm 60 years old. Like, Mum died when she was 60. It's just far too young, like, for someone who just believes that there was no help out there for her other than, medication for her anxiety and depression. That was the last resort for her. That was the only thing that was going to ease her pain or numb her pain. I just did not want to end up like that in another 30, 40 years time. So I was like, yeah, whatever, we'll give it a go, you know. So that was my first experience of counselling in 2020. And don't get me wrong, it was suggested to me before by other family members, and like everyone's kind of had an idea at home, especially when I left home at 14, that probably needed some sort of support in that capacity, but wasn't for accepting it. So I guess that's the one positive that has come out of Mum's death, is that, you know, I suppose I was ready to work on my own mental health after, and maybe even just raise a wee bit of awareness around it. So yeah, the counselling session started. How many sessions I'm deep now? Too many to count. I don't need them as often anymore. But yeah, they were some of the most difficult conversations I've had in my life. It was a couple of lines or a couple of phrases between the tears at the start, you know. And yeah, it takes time and a lot of patience. And I find personally myself at the start, I found it very hard, like telling my story and like my upbringing. And this was nearly the worst thing of having to go to counselling, was to explain that to someone again and like make them understand. But it less so as time went on became a process of making them understand than taking on the tools that they were going to give me for me to help myself. So yeah, it's been a long road, but we're here now. Yeah, I would say like I've probably never been in a better headspace, and it's something I lean on from time to time in terms of like counselling and using those resources that are there through the GPA. But it's something I don't need as often now, and it's probably something I recognise within myself now, as to I know how to deal with it, I know how to use the tools, and it's still even nice to have the odd session with my counsellor, Margaret McGoldrick. She deserves a shout out. Margaret McGoldrick. So the odd time I'd lean into her and we get a chat, but it's even just nice to have someone there from that neutral perspective, because more often than not, your friends and family kind of tell you what you want to hear, you know. So it's nice to have that sort of neutral perspective and someone that actually give you tools that have been proven to work. Especially for myself, that's so like so results orientated, process orientated. She was just like, you know, this is what's going on, this is what we'll use. You're obviously having like a lot of overthinking styles are going on. This is the style of thinking you're having. This is the tool that we'll use. Just anytime that you're having sort of this anxious sort of episode, this is what we'll use. And to me, I was just kind of like, okay, we have a process for this here.
Yeah.
It's not as airy-fairy or wishy-washy as people make it out to be. And that's what helped me buy into it. So like anything else.
And that's the same as what you're speaking about with the like sports psychology aspect of it, is having tools that, you know, because you're like science back orientated and like results process driven, like that you had and were given tools for that. So it seems like knew what would work for you and you knew what would.
There's an epiphany there, as I was saying it, like it was that was Margaret, like she just gauged the room, you know, too, as to what would work for me.
And like, is there anything, you know, 14, 15-year-old you who's going through all that time, that real tough time, and like, is there anything that you would say to her now? Would you say, okay, go talk to someone now? Or is it more like, no, just go your own path and end up how everything is now? Or do you think it would have made anything easier to have talked to someone earlier?
I would recommend everyone in their life, whether there's something going on or not, have a counselling session. Even just to have someone there that's a neutral opinion. You know, you don't need to have anxiety or depression to go to counselling. I think that's stigma in the Irish culture at the minute, is like, she's got a counsellor, oh, she must be depressed. You know, I think the first time that I came out and said I was going counselling on my social media platform, there was people in GA circles saying depression. I actually didn't have clinical depression at the time. So yeah, that's something that needs to end. Is I think we just need to talk about it a wee bit more. If you've been to counselling, no big deal. It's you looking after your mental health. It's the same as you going to the gym and doing your GPP or your robustness or whatever it is. So yeah, I think it's good to have someone there from that neutral perspective. It isn't just going to tell you what you want to hear. And it's actually equipped to deal with it. Have someone on side, even if it's just for something as simple as a stressful job interview. It doesn't have to be that you're going through something. You don't have to tell the world about it until you're ready, obviously, as well. But I guess for me, at that age, in terms of what was going on with me, I had like a lot of anxiety and low mood. It wouldn't have been clinical depression, but the low mood would have been very, very hard to get out of. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to do anything outside the day-to-day tasks of like going to uni or going to work, playing sport. Didn't want to see or talk to anyone, but it was caught in a massive negative style of overthinking. So like, I suppose basic level, like one of the things we would have worked through, and actually read a great book that might maybe direct the listeners to at the end that helped me through it as well. It's the Power of Now book. I'm sure everyone has heard of it, whether you read it or not. Between that and the counsel, it just helped me. At this point, it was an epiphany. It might be just the simplest thing is to just sort of step back and observe your thoughts. So your thoughts are your thoughts. They're not actually you. If you let them feed into them too much, they can develop emotions, and emotions can soon feed into what you're doing and your actions, and you can become those emotions very, very handy. So I guess at the most basic level was just like stepping back and observing my thoughts or internal dialogue. I think at that point it was like, I actually have an internal dialogue, and the majority of us do. I think only a small percentage of us don't have an internal dialogue, but just to step back and observe what I was thinking, and not so much challenge those thoughts, but just kind of ask, is that actually true? Because if you don't step back and let those thoughts consume you, they then become emotions, and that ends up in actions and a period of low mood where you mightn't get out of bed for 2 or 3 days, which was me at the time. So yeah, I suppose at the most basic level, that was one epiphany that I'd had in terms of just observing the negative thinking style that I have, like in terms of like catastrophizing and like tunnel vision, thinking about things in a black and white manner, or like even before they'd happened, and that was filtering in to emotions. Then like I would feel down, depressed, worried, anxious, things like that, and then them emotions then became me. But just the simplest thing of stepping back, observing the thought. Yes, they're a thought, they're not me. It didn't let that emotion run into actually embodying like my day-to-day actions then.
Like, yeah, it's like you are not your thoughts, isn't it? That's kind of the bottom line of it. Is just you're not your thoughts. They come and go. We've what thousands and thousands of thoughts a day, and even the one of just something. Yeah, you're not good enough today. You haven't done the things. I think it's trying to find.
I'd still catch myself at it now.
Yeah, of course.
It's a lifelong process. If you're that way inclined of thinking, it's a lifelong process. It's not something you're going to work on through 4 or 5 sessions, but it's something that you need to do long term for yourself. Is just to reprogram those thoughts and catch yourself thinking that way and be like, actually, what evidence do you have for that?
Yeah, I think that comes into even people doing like meditation and things. Some people think that meditation is about actually having no thoughts, and then they give out to themselves. They're like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking, I'm here to meditate. Nothing should be in my head. But meditation is actually like letting the thoughts in, having them, and then letting them go again. That's actually what like being in that meditative state is like. All these pop in and then they pop out again as quick as they come. But that's incredible, kind of that period of time that you're able to get through everything you did. Like, I think the entire thing throughout this podcast, I think that everyone will agree, is like you're resilient in all aspects, and like really,
whether I wanted to be or not,
we're like I'm so proud to call you a great friend, and I think you've done like absolutely incredible things, and you're doing incredible things for the S&C world, for women in sport and GA, and it's incredible to see how well you're doing, and like wish you all the success for it. You're incredible.
Yeah. Funny you say that, actually, because I guess with the turn of the career change as well, like I was a diagnostic radiographer. I was working in interventional radiology, which is like I would have been dealing with like embolizations of people who maybe had an internal bleed and stenting and coiling, and like, yes, it's good work. It is good work, but it probably isn't as impactful as the work I can do now in the field I'm in now, and to be genuinely intrigued by what I'm doing and to be helping other people who's in a similar scenario to me. So I think people do be a wee bit baffled by the career changes. Like, why would you leave a good pensionable career like that? It's probably something me and you've actually put on.
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly, yeah.
HSE's great. It is great.
Yeah.
Stable, pensionable job, but yeah, we both felt like we couldn't make the same impact as what we're trying to do now, I think, and help as many young girls. I felt like we're very similar in that way, that I'm like, oh, don't make the same mistakes I did in regards to like my injury rehab and all that kind of thing, and how long it took me to get into S&C and all that as well. But the slightly different angle of the rugby player. But like with all the, like, your high performing athlete, high performing in your field of S&C, is there anything that you think that we need to talk about more for our young female athletes out there? Like, is there anything that we need to like break the stigma of, or, you know, be more forthcoming with to help them grow and develop healthily and mentally well?
Just think education is power, like especially for that underage age group. I don't know what it's like for you in the rugby environment, but like in GAA circles, it's nearly like every club or every high performing team or individual has this secret blueprint.
So,
and nobody wants to talk about it or impart that information. But I think it's your duty.
Yeah.
To, you know, especially if you're playing sport at a high level, like at least after you finish playing, to impart that information on someone else.
Yeah.
You know,
But there isn't a magical thing, Brenda. There isn't a magical blueprint.
this is it.
And I want to be honest and tell people, I'm like, there isn't.
You know,
It's consistency, hard work, and decent programming. I'm not gonna like say there is crap programming out there that isn't great for
again,
athletes.
like I'm not gonna come into, I don't know, whatever Tyrone setup and tell them our whole kickouts, like, but you know, at the same time, like I think we have a responsibility to impart information on the youths of today, like as athletes. You know, I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of athletes listening to this.
Yeah.
Well, like even at the smallest level, what can you be doing? It might even just be coming down to your youth training, you know, or if you were asked to maybe give medals out at a ceremony at the most simple level, like a few of the little tidbits that you can give there, you know, it's going to be so valuable to them. I suppose aside from that, there is another one that's just looming in the back of my head in terms of pressures on youth athletes today, males and females, but predominantly females. Like, and I guess it comes along with the exposure to social media today. It's just like, I suppose, body confidence and what we perceive to be the norm as athletes. And a good conversation with under 16 athletes in Antrim on Monday actually about it is, you know, like, there are obviously some benchmarks there, and I always like to refer to them as the most elite standard in terms of like body composition, body fat levels for athletes. And I guess the youth of today are looking a lot of maybe influencers or even models online and between Instagram, TikTok, whatever else. And those are like a small percentage of the population who have a very lean body composition, and a lot of them are underfueled. A lot of them are overtraining. A lot of them are training for a different sport, whether that be like bikini modeling, like competing, bodybuilding, and they are the minority who are going to have a very low body fat percentage. And it's just unfortunate that the children of today are looking at those individuals and thinking, this is the pedestal, or this is the benchmark, or this is what I need to look like to be perceived as pretty, or, you know, attractive, or to have a following, or to be popular, or whatever else. Whereas in actual fact, like, even the benchmarks at the most elite level for body composition for the likes of rugby or GAA is a lot higher and heavier, and it's actually really detrimental for us to be that low in terms of body fat levels, or being that lean or thin, and it's not conducive with performance. So a very interesting conversation with the under 16s on Monday about that, and actually just brought up some images of, you know, this is what a female at 25% body fat looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're actually comparing yourself to someone who is maybe preparing for a bikini competition at 9% body fat, and they would not be able to go box to box on a GA field for 60 minutes.
And they'd go for a run and potentially get a stress fracture, or they have reds, and they have, you know, all the fatigue, all the dark eye circles from that underfueling and not being ready. I think that's a really important point. I think it's really good we've got like the likes of the one that obviously springs to mind is like Ilona Maher, and then with the Women's Rugby World Cup, there is so many athletes and strong women like are developing more of a following on social media, which is so great to see that girls can identify with those athletes too. So
I only wish we could just see more of it, like from more sports. Ilona Maher is unbelievable. I want to be her too.
Yeah, like she's done such incredible things for the entire like rugby world, but she's setting it up for everyone though. Like I see all the girls from Bristol Bears now, and you know the confidence that I think they have all taken as well from having her. Like I see like Sarah Byrne, she's just being her best self, having a great time, like, and you know Hannah Botterman, and you know, and then you've got Holly Aitchison, like they're all just showing themselves a lot more, and then all the Irish girls as well are you know absolutely killing it on TikTok and everything, which is so good to see. But yeah, I think that's a really important point, is just to focus on the body that you're in and the things that you can do to prepare yourself for your sport, like in all aspects, which is your mental readiness, your physical readiness.
It's definitely something I'm aware of myself, you know, with a platform and a following and a lot of young eyes looking, you know, as to like I want to try and normalize that.
I have a few like quick fire questions here for you that we might run over. They won't no, these should be good. These should be fun. Let us see. Okay. Right. You ready? They don't need to be very quick, but quick enough. Just don't think too much about them. Club All-Ireland win or County All-Ireland win?
Shop up.
Oh, really?
Yes. This year was our first taste of Ulster Senior Championship. First ever senior title for the club this year, but massive step up. Like we won Intermediate Ulster in 2022. So then we won our first senior county title this year, and it was our first time in Ulster senior competition. And yeah, massive eye opener in terms of physicality, and like I thought we'd done really, really well, but like there's massive scope to develop further there. So yeah, even Club Ulster would be massive, you know.
Amazing. What dog breed are you most like and why?
I'm definitely gonna be biased and say a Groodle or a Golden Doodle. So Sadie's a mini poodle cross with a retriever.
Oh,
she's medium sized, but like size of a Springer. Inserts cute picture of Sadie. Yeah, I'm swaying towards her. She's non-shed. She's just a wee bundle of joy. Like, great. And then aside from that, like we bred some Bernards growing up.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they're a bit bigger, a bit slobberier, but they're like great temperament. So that'd be the pick, although I'd be very tempted for another dog in the next year, and we were just looking at Bernedoodle.
Oh no way. Oh, they're so beautiful.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
So
Bernedoodle, definitely. What's your girl dinner?
So funny in our house. Stephen's girl dinner is becoming my girl.
Yeah.
He's so funny. He's like, oh, I just made a wee bit of food there. I'm okay. I don't need any dinner this evening. You know, a wee bit of food. I know the minute he says that, he has made eggs on wholemeal sourdough with probably like a bacon medallion or maybe a turkey sausage or something. That's like girl dinner.
Yeah.
House when we're bait for time.
Yeah, no, it's a great go-to. Hardest player you've ever marked?
Carlo.
Oh yeah, she's class. She's unreal.
Her at uni.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it was tricky.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike. Tiempos all the way.
Definitely. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh, so many. Such an addictive personality. It's very hard to leave it down once you start. And I find it very hard. Like it's mad. Like you could spend so much time on it. And then you look back a couple of weeks later and be like, what even was the name of that show we watched? I love Blue Lights at the minute.
Oh, is that the ambulance one? No. Or is it police?
It's police.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I love anything like crime.
Oh.
Action. Yeah. I actually mad about war films. So random. Yeah.
There we go. didn't know that. That is something I didn't know. If you couldn't play Gaelic anymore and you had to start fresh, what sport would you play?
Rugby sevens.
Yeah.
Well, I just haven't had access to it. I would love to have tried it.
Yeah.
Or rowing.
Oh,
Yeah.
tough. Rowan's tough. And this kid, sure, Catherine Dane, she's from
Yeah. She's from Enniskillen.
yeah,
She played a bit of Gaelic football too. Very good footballer as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she was an absolute whippet. Favorite athlete of all time?
Oh, I'm going to have to say the first one that springs to mind is Olivia May.
So
She is an Australian-based sprinter. Yeah,
she's
amazing. Just want to be her.
I know. I always watch her like montages of her training. She's unreal. She's so strong, so fast. The beach sprinting looks so hard. I think he did like
Actually, I had a tight to walk on the beach. Never mind.
yeah, and the sand is so soft. Like we used to do like the beach lifeguard stuff, and we used to play like flags, which is kind of like you catch the last flag and stuff, and it's so the sand goes everywhere, and it's just so hard to run that fast. So
Big fan of Anna McGann as well.
yeah.
I feel like maybe this is just the first year of like being exposed to her on social media, and I love everything about her.
Yeah, she's a great girl. And then what is one thing you want people to remember about our conversation today?
Wow. Guess if there's any just thoughts that you're struggling with anything, or you need to just speak to anyone, that you're not being silly with those thoughts. Like, I think if there's any inkling at all that you need to speak to someone or you need help, just please do it. You will be in a better place. People around you and be in a better place. Yeah, that's definitely one for me.
Amazing. And this is the Play Strong Girl podcast. So what does being a strong girl mean to you?
I suppose strength is definitely, we've established it throughout the conversation. It's something aside from like physical strength, physical resilience. Like, it's definitely mental strength. It's players who have the confidence to put their hand up and speak up and lead. That might be leading vocally, but even just by example.
Amazing. Great. Well, thank you so much, Brenda, for coming on the podcast with me. I think there's plenty there that people can take and digest. Brenda's Instagram handle will be down the show notes below. There we go. And we'll see you in the next one.